So when you started Karate Combat, did you just recruit all your friends on the training circuit, or how did you get people to actually come do this new thing?
Yes. So the way I got into Karate Combat, it was two guys from Wall Street who had this idea. This was in 2017. And in 2016, that was the year when the UFC got sold for $4 billion. And also in 2016, karate made it to the Olympics for 2020 Tokyo. And they had this idea of karate is a huge sport. Everybody knows about karate, but nobody really took it as a brand, and it doesn't have a professional league like the UFC. So that's how they came up with the idea, and then they needed somebody who could, first of all, execute, but also from the sport, because none of them came from the sport.
These are just Wall Street guys that approached
Just
you?
Wall Street guys, yeah.
How did you know them?
Oh, excuse me.
That's okay. How did you know these guys?
They found me because they started talking to fighters, existing fighters. What they looked at is world championship results, who are the best fighters in the world, and tried to recruit them for this new league, which didn't exist. And I came up on the list, and by this time they already started to talk to a few people who suggested me, because by then I was already retired and I built my businesses around the UFC, or I was doing events in Hungary. And then we just started chatting. They found me and they didn't know if they wanted to recruit me as a fighter or actually the person for them to run, mostly sports operations, and then go into the space of karate and recruit fighters and to come up with the rule set and the platform where these guys should fight in. And then, yeah, I was their first partner from the sport. And as you say, yes, first, we had a little database, which was an Excel sheet, and put names in there who were really good fighters and people who I knew and they knew me. And then we just started going after them and signed them without even having one event. And then we did a little test event, not even an event, just we built the pit for the first time ever back in Budapest. This pit is the platform they use at Karate Combat, which is not a ring, not a cage, but a very different signature fighting arena. And we built a prototype of that in Budapest, Hungary in 2017. We invited 8 fighters who we already had on our roster and under contract, and we just asked them to fight in the headgear and with big gloves to see how the rule set we created would work. And it was horrible. These guys got so what we wanted to do is to have these world champions and Olympic nominees, or how you would say it, transition to full contact fighting, which is not easy because they are really good at one thing, but full contact fighting is completely different, right? So the whole thing, in amateur karate, whenever there's a score, they stop the fight, they reset and they start again. And even this small detail that these guys, there was no reset, right? But they had to fight until either somebody's knocked out or till 3 minutes is out. This was a huge problem for them because after 1 minute, they were exhausted. And also, we wanted to keep this karate not to be another MMA league. So we had to come up with a rule set which is interesting enough. We figured that people are bored of the ground exchanges and grappling in MMA. And we just wanted to attract an audience which likes stand-up fighting with a little bit of throwing and sweeps and takedowns in it. So the first thing was horrible. And then we ended up doing, in 2018, a pilot show, also in Hungary, in a big film studio. And we recorded the whole thing, very cinematic, and then released footage of it in April, and it blew up. The whole trailer. We had Rafael Agaev, who is the GOAT when it comes to karate. He was fighting in there, and the entire karate world, was amazed of what this new thing is. But also we grabbed the attention of the everyday people who were interested in just watching fights. And I think we got over millions and millions of views organically on YouTube just by putting on a trailer. So this wasn't even a full fight event. It was just something out of the movie.
Wow. Okay. So were you thinking at that point, damn, we made it, this is going to be enormous, or are you still worried about it?
We still didn't produce a live show, which changes a bunch of things, and we still didn't have a real concept of how this looks as a yearly schedule, how many shows we will we had something in mind, but then also you start burning money on a pace which is hard to keep on.
were you raising money on your own at this point, or you guys did the Wall Street guys fund it, or are you putting in your own money at this point? Like, because obviously it's expensive to start, right?
Yes, it's very expensive to start, especially if you have international fighters who now you have to, travel around the world, hotels, and then fight purse and all of the things what you would have in the fight world with an event. It was one of these guys, the crypto guy, who started putting in the money, and there was no official fundraise or anything. There was a bunch of friends and family, so like a small round of people who put in some money. But at that time, you were just kind of losing money, but at the first year that was anticipated. So like that was to be expected. But after the second and the third year, we still did the shows and we didn't generate any money. That's where the problems start come, because like, okay, do you keep on going? Like, what do you need to do differently to stand out? And the one thing we did well from the beginning is building our social media presence and the content we created around the fights, because I think we understood that fights are really important. But where the world is heading is the content is just as much important as a good fight. And also the way people consume content completely changed from where it was in 2018, then now we're at 2022. So we came up with the idea of doing, and this was also during COVID when everything was shut down, to do virtual environments. So again, we were back in Budapest, everything is locked down, but we managed to put on a few shows, non-live to tape shows, and build these huge green screen studios where we would record the fights, and in post-production we would put these crazy backgrounds in the fights, and then live to tape, giving it to distribution partners. And we thought that this is gonna be the big deal. But the problem was that you're kind of promoting a sport which is not live, which people are not really excited about. And it was also a big problem for us because we had all these fighters, but we had to embargo all the content. People who were on site couldn't post about it. So, you took a big part of the experience away. But for sure, the end product was very high production value, but we were not very happy with not being able to do this live. And then we transitioned, and that's when I moved to the US, when we started doing shows over here in Orlando and in Miami, because the technology were at a point where we could do these virtual environments live. So like we didn't have to post-produce everything after the fact we taped it, and we did it with huge LED screens and also mapping the VFX and everything. And it turned out that that was a tipping point of getting attention around the whole thing, because these knockouts created millions and millions of views on social media. And then at the same time, we also pivoted to the crypto part, where we could have a huge sponsor sign up for like 3 years with us, which got us out of trouble. And then all of these other people who came in. And also that was a time when we pivoted to crypto, when we did a big fundraise, and we got 21 million through the whole transitioning to a crypto-based platform, which got us moving.
Yeah, when you raise the money, like what's like a burn per year for Karate Combat? Like how much are you actually spending per year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to go into specifics, but I can tell you in general that it's when you put on these international shows or shows in the US specifically, it can get very expensive, and especially if you want to put on high production value. So you're not just buying the cheapest flight pack or the worst truck you can for the live broadcast. So it is deep into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and depending on the fight card you put together and the sell or the purse of the fighters, this can go up in between $1 million or $2 million, depending on who fights and where the event is happening. So I think the burn rate is big, but like when we got these pitches for the investors, we already kind of understood like what one show would cost us, and then build out the year or the next 2-3 years.
Did you have anyone that you could that can mentor you? Maybe someone who was a UFC executive or WWE executive, someone who's kind of been through these live productions launching a sport, or are you guys just figuring it out on your own as you went along?
I think as stupid as we were, like we kind of figured things out on our own. And like we had people come in and out, but like the core team, which I was part of for like 6 years, didn't really change that much. And we didn't have, so although we spent a bunch of money on events, we didn't hire like these big executive producers who came from the WWE or like other big brands, because we just didn't have the money to do that, because we rather spent it on events rather than reoccurring monthly salaries or retainers. So I think in some ways it made sense. In some ways maybe we burned through some money with our mistakes. And there are a bunch of things where what you can do cheaper and get the same results, which we only learned throughout the process. Recently I had launched another league called Dirty Boxing Championship, and I could put together a show for way cheaper than what we did before with the experience I had for a couple of years with karate combat.
So that's your new venture now, is Dirty Boxing?
One sec. Let me just, sorry, I'm back.
That's all good. So is that your new venture now, Dirty Boxing?
No, I last year in 2024, this is what I was working on and my team, and our assignment ended at the end of the year. So we were part of the whole process of how you take an idea to an actual product and how you launch a very new professional fighting league by creating the concept, the ring, the rule set, the branding, and put on the first show, which we did in November. I'm not involved anymore because I have my own company now where we do stuff like this, where we help others put on new products. And again, what I said is everybody's got great ideas, but putting them together and executing on them and to create something which could be a long-term business, sometimes that's the hard part.
Yeah.